Welcome to Sppkai Senpai, where shadows whisper secrets and the past refuses to stay buried. I am Senpai. Think of me as your mentor in the macabre, your sensei of suspense. Senpai has noticed you, and that you love unsolved mysteries, true crime, and eerie tales from around the world. So if you dare to venture deeper into the unknown, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Class is in session. The 1980s, a time of neon glows, synth beats, and dreams bigger than shoulder pads. But behind the glam and glitter, a shadow crept in. It was a decade where VHS tapes weren't the only things getting erased, and where monsters didn't just live in slasher films. Today, we discuss 5 mysteries of the decade that are so twisted, they make solving a Rubik's Cube look easy. In April 1980, 14-year-old Lorene Ron vanished from her apartment in Manchester, New Hampshire. She was last seen by her mother, who returned home to find the apartment lights bizarrely unscrewed and the door unlocked. Lorene was gone without a trace. The years that followed only deepened the mystery. Strange phone calls plagued her mother, sometimes silent, sometimes breathing, always around 3:45 a.m., and especially prominent every Christmas. Her ex-boyfriend also received phone calls from a young woman who called him a pet name only known to the two of them. Investigators discovered Lorene's social security number was never used again. Some believe she was abducted and forced into human trafficking. Others point to a series of eerie calls linked to a California doctor known for pornographic exploitation. But no body, no concrete leads, and 40 years later, no answers. In the quiet suburbs of West Des Moines, Iowa, on a seemingly ordinary Sunday morning in 1982, 12-year-old Johnny Gosch set out on his paper route and vanished without a trace. His red wagon, filled with newspapers, was found abandoned just 2 blocks from his house. His dog was left behind, but Johnny, gone. As hours turned into days and days into decades, theories swirled like smoke. Witnesses later reported seeing Johnny being approached by a man in a car. Others described a second man on foot. But somehow no one could stop what happened next. His parents, especially his mother, Noreen Gosch, fought tirelessly to uncover the truth. She believes Johnny was abducted by an underground child trafficking ring, one that stretched far beyond Iowa, possibly involving powerful figures who remain untouchable to this day. Then, a new twist. In the late 1990s, Noreen claimed Johnny reappeared at her door as an adult. He told her he had escaped but was still in hiding, too terrified to come forward. Years later, haunting photographs surfaced online. Images of young boys tied up and terrified. Some say one of those boys was Johnny. Others believe it was cruel exploitation of a family's worst nightmare. Despite decades of leads, theories, and chilling allegations, the truth about what happened to Johnny Gosch remains elusive. No body, no confession, just questions, and the lingering fear that a sinister conspiracy is still lurking in the shadows. On a bright, sunny morning on September 20th, 1988, in the quiet town of Belen, New Mexico, 19-year-old Tara Calico set out on her usual bike ride along Highway 47, a route she knew by heart. She told her mother if she wasn't back by noon to come looking for her. Tara never came back. All that was found was her Walkman, shattered on the side of the road, and part of her bike tire's tracks, as if someone or something had forced her off her path. But the story doesn't end there. Almost a year later, and nearly 1,600 miles away in Florida, a chilling clue surfaced. A Polaroid photo was found in a convenience store parking lot, showing a young woman bound and gagged, lying next to an unidentified boy. Some believe the girl in the photo was Tara Calico. Her family was convinced, but investigators couldn't prove it. The photo sparked nationwide media coverage and endless speculation. Was Tara being held captive? Was she alive somewhere, waiting to be found? Over the years, the case has only grown colder, but the theories have gotten darker. Some say she was abducted by local men and silenced by a cover-up. Others believe Tara's fate is still hidden in plain sight, just waiting for someone to connect the dots. To this day, there's been no official resolution. No arrests, no confirmed sightings. Only that haunting photo and her family still searching for answers. In November 1982, Don Kemp, a successful Madison Avenue advertising executive, walked away from his fast-paced New York City life. After surviving a serious car accident, Don seemed desperate for a fresh start. He packed up his belongings and drove west, toward the remote wilderness of Wyoming. But what happened next feels like something out of a true crime thriller. Don's abandoned car was discovered along a desolate highway near Cheyenne. The engine was still running, the doors left wide open, and inside, police found his neatly packed belongings, his briefcase, money, clothes, even his uncashed checks. But there was no sign of Don. Just 6 footprints leading away from his vehicle into the barren wilderness, as if he had wandered off on foot and vanished. Months later, his body was found miles away in an abandoned barn. Strangely, there were no signs of foul play. But here's where things get downright chilling. After Don disappeared, his close friend Judy received 6 eerie phone calls from someone sounding just like Don. The caller said nothing, just breathed into the phone. Some believe Don may have been alive long after authorities assumed he died. Was Don Kemp the victim of foul play? Did he have a mental break? Or did he stumble upon something or someone he shouldn't have? His death was ruled an accident, but decades later, many believe there's far more to this story, something darker that's never been brought to light. Deep in the forests of Northern California, in the small, isolated town of Keddie, something horrifying happened on the night of April 11th, 1981. What was supposed to be a peaceful spring break getaway turned into one of the most gruesome unsolved crimes in American history, the infamous Keddie Cabin Murders. Sue Sharp, a single mother, had moved her family to Cabin 28 in Keddie for a fresh start. But on that fateful night, Sue, her 15-year-old son John, and his friend Dana Wingate were brutally murdered. Their bodies were discovered the next morning, bound with electrical tape and wire, stabbed, bludgeoned, and left in a scene so violent it shook even the most seasoned investigators. Sue's 12-year-old daughter, Tina, was missing from the cabin, her disappearance deepening the mystery. What makes this case even more chilling is what wasn't touched. In an adjacent bedroom, Sue's younger children and one of their friends were found unharmed, seemingly unaware of the carnage just steps away. How could a crime so brutal have happened in a small cabin without anyone hearing a thing? Months later, Tina's skeletal remains were found over 50 miles away, discarded like an afterthought. And despite the crime scene being soaked in clues, blood, fingerprints, even a possible murder weapon, no one was ever arrested. Leads were ignored. Suspects were let go. And many believe the investigation was botched from the start. Decades later, new investigators have uncovered fresh evidence and believe the murders were personal, and that law enforcement at the time may have covered up critical details. Was it a random act of violence, or a cold, calculated crime by someone close to the family? One thing is certain: Cabin 28 was eventually demolished, but the dark legacy of the Keddie Cabin Murders still haunts this quiet mountain town, and to this day, the question remains: who got away with murder? And there you have it. 5 chilling, unsolved mysteries from the back streets of the 1980s. Cases remain unsolved, frozen in time like a forgotten VHS tape gathering dust. Their truths still just out of reach. But what do you think? Could these cold cases from the 80s finally be cracked open? Or will they stay buried under layers of mystery and misdirection? Drop your theories in the comments below, and let me know what you would like to see. More cases of the 1980s? Or maybe from another decade? If your comments are interesting enough, I just may notice you. Stay spooky. Bye.